Okay, today from my cookbook from scratch, we are making artisan bread. So, this recipe I have adapted from Zoe Bakes, the TV show. This is her recipe, so I'm giving her credit. And, alright, it works. It's a wonderful recipe, and it's the best one I have tried for artisan bread, so that is why I am sticking with it. So, here we're going to start out with 3 cups of lukewarm water. It's barely warm. You don't want it too hot. It'll kill your yeast. You don't want it too cold or your yeast will not be happy. So I'm going to start off. This is my yeast. I keep it in the freezer. It helps it last longer and it's a healthier yeast that way. So I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of these happy guys in there. All right. And this is my dough hook. I use it for making my breads. You can make this bread dough and keep it in the fridge for several days. I've kept it for like 5-6 days. Over a week, it kind of starts to not do well. But anyways, so there's your yeast. You can also make it in a container like this, one of these big 6-quart containers, storage containers. And I'm just going to add our kosher salt. You want kosher salt because it's a bigger grain. It's not as fine and it distributes better throughout the dough. 1.5 tablespoons. So 1.5. All right. And then 6.5 or more. You may need a little more. You're just going to have to check it out and see how your dough's doing. We're going to put 6.5 cups of just regular all-purpose flour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a half. All right, so this is where our dough hook is going to get to work. And we're going to bring this dough together. And then we're going to let it sit on the counter for 2 hours to proof. And that is how we start off our artisan bread. Okay, so you can see that I mixed it as well as I could with my dough hook until I got to this point where I'm kneading the flour to get the remaining flour in there. I'm going to pick this off my fingers, and then we are going to simply leave it sit on the counter. I'm going to put the lid on it just so that nothing gets into it, but I'm not going to put the lid on tightly because we do want it to breathe. And there we go. Set it on. Not sealing it. Okay, this has been 2 hours. This is our bread. This is our dough. So we can make 3, well, I usually get 3 nice chunks of bread off of this. You can refrigerate this and take a piece off and make it fresh, and then do the same thing every night for a couple of nights. But right now, I am going to take off what I think is like a third-ish. If you really wanted to be precise, you could weigh these. You could. So, I'm going to put this in the fridge then. And then I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of flour right onto my counter. And then I'm just going to knead this some. And not too much. You don't have to knead it a lot. Just so it takes the stickiness out of the dough and it becomes really nice and smooth and elastic. And then once you've gotten there, you can stick this on a piece of parchment paper to rise. Yep. And it takes about half an hour to 45 minutes to rise. So while it's rising, I like to heat up my Dutch oven that I'm going to bake it in. I like to heat it up in the oven. So I will show you the next step in just a second. Okay, so this is our loaf after our boule, actually, technically. After 45 minutes of rising, I'm going to sprinkle it with some flour, just dusted here on the skim. And then I'm going to use my bread lamb, which is just basically a stick with a razor on it to make my design. You're going to want to go in, I would say a third of an inch, a quarter to a third of an inch, especially on the parts where it's going to really split as it bakes, which is going to be right here. So
it is so soft.
It's so soft, she says. Okay, so I made an X. You can make any design you want.
It's so soft.
I'm gonna just make some little decorative cuts here. And then once I'm done this process, I will get my hot Dutch oven out of my 450-degree oven. It's been heating in there, and then I'll show you that. Okay, so I've got my hot Pioneer Woman Dutch oven. It's not dirty, guys. It's just always used for this. And we're going to place this nice and even around there. Make sure the paper is kind of back. We're going to put the lid on this, and we are going to bake it for 30 to 35 minutes. The last 5 to 10 minutes of cooking, you are going to want to take the top off and let it brown. Let's see how this comes out. It just came out of the oven. I did 20 minutes with the lid on and 7 minutes with the lid off at 450. Look how beautiful that is. Gorgeous bread. And you made it from scratch. You can do it too, guys. Don't be afraid. Have at it.